Hi, I recently purchased this NymoLabs NBS-6040 CNC Router. I've been in the market for a CNC for a little while now. I'm looking to get back into some woodworking projects. I had previously built a CNC that I had to disassemble in order to move, and I wanted something that would get me up and running quickly. I've been looking at a lot of the hobby CNCs out there and actually had an X-Carve in the cart ready to go. At which point I think I saw this on Amazon and it piqued my interest. A couple of things that drew me to it was the fact that it has linear rails on all the axes and its ball screw drive. And I also was not looking forward to the assembly of the X-Carve. This should promise to be a lot easier and less time consuming to assemble. The other thing is that I was able to pick this up shipped to door for about $150 more than the X-Carve would have cost me, and that includes the dust boot and a handheld rotary encoder. So given that, I took a chance, I bought it. NymoLabs is a new company. They have a small user group. Everything that I've seen from my interactions with customer support before I purchased it and what I've seen on the user group seems like they're fairly responsive. So that is encouraging. But I haven't seen a lot of reviews out there from people that have actually purchased the machine. So I wanted to put this out there. Maybe it might help somebody. I'm going to go ahead, unbox it, assemble, and start it up and see what it's about. So stick around. Thanks.
I'd originally planned on purchasing the machine as a bundle that included the dust boot and handheld encoder from Amazon. However, when I went to go purchase, they were actually out of stock of the handheld encoder and the bundle was no longer available, which offered a discount with the bundle. I ended up going to the NymoLabs website to purchase just the machine and the dust boot. I did get a 10% first time customer discount, so that was nice. Still got a decent discount there. Ship time was expected to be 10 business days, so about 2 weeks. I ended up getting the machine in less than a week. As you can see here, all the packaging is done very well with form-fitted foam. Actually, some of the pieces are kind of difficult to get out, so do take care when you're removing these pieces, especially this XZ assembly. It is quite heavy. Do take care when you're removing it. The handheld encoder was the only item that arrived just wrapped in bubble wrap. I do think this is just a generic encoder. I think I've seen the same one offered by SameSmart. However, it arrived just fine and still no concerns about its shipping or packaging. The entire machine does come in just this one box. It is quite heavy, so keep that in mind. I did need assistance carrying this downstairs to my basement. When looking at all the individual components, they all seem very well constructed and solid. And there's really not a lot here when you're thinking about assembly. Really just the machine bed pieces, the 2Y assemblies, and the XZ assembly. So really, assembly is going to be a lot easier than even I think I originally expected. NymoLabs does provide a very nice printed manual with instructions. One nice thing is that it does look like they're looking at user feedback. I did see in a previous video for assembly that it wasn't very clear on how the orientation for that rear module was supposed to go. They did update with stickers to modify the printed instructions. However, an online version would probably be a good idea as well. The oil stains there on the workbed piece, that's just a transfer from my workbench that was recently finished. It did not come that way. I do recommend having access to all sides of the machine during the assembly process. Definitely will come in handy when assembling the machine, adding the XZ assembly, and doing any wiring. Um, you also need access to the underside of the machine here to screw in the XZ assembly. I chose to pull the entire machine off the back of the workbench, which wasn't a great idea because a little too back heavy and wanted to tip off the workbench. Ultimately, I pull off one side at a time and tighten down those screws and back off the other corner to tighten those screws down. That seemed to work. There really isn't any kind of indication in the manual on the best way to go about that, but I had seen other people that had chose to prop it up on blocks. That probably would have been a better way to go. Once the spindle is mounted, that's pretty much the entire assembly for the machine. At this point, all the screws are still pretty much loose for the workbed and the Y assembly. What you do is go ahead and wire up the machine. tighten the rear row of screws across the workbed and the Y assemblies, and then you'll jog the machine forward to align everything and then tighten the front row. I did have an issue with the Y assembly connector on the right-hand side. There are multiple orientations where they actually will fit together. So you'll see here where the machine starts to jog forward, but it's really the left side pulling the right. Both motors are not running, so that right motor is not running. It was a simple process of just switching the orientation on that cable, and uh, that motor started working. Really, the last step is just to tighten the screws across the front side of the machine, and the assembly is complete. The handheld encoder is much nicer than I expected. I'm glad I picked this up. It'll definitely make setting zero much easier.
So I have the machine assembled and running now. I'm very happy with how well this went together. It took me maybe 45 minutes to assemble, and that was really taking my time and working through that Y assembly connector issue. All in all, it was a very intuitive assembly process. You can tell that NymoLabs put a lot of thought and effort into the design and thinking about how easily it would go together, because it was really a simple assembly process and did not take very long at all. Could probably be done in 20 minutes to a half hour without a problem. I appreciate that NymoLabs provided updated print instructions. I do think it would be nice to have an online version to go through. But all in all, I'm very happy with how well this went together. Very, very easy to assemble, clear instructions. All the parts were there that I needed, plus some extra screws. So very happy with how this went together again. Not only was the assembly very easy, but it does feel to be a very solid, rigid machine, excellent build quality. So again, very happy with this so far. I haven't done any cutting on it yet, so I may post some videos in the future, but right now, no regrets whatsoever. I think it's an excellent value for what you get. I haven't seen any other machines out there that have what this has for this price point. I think this retails on the NymoLabs website for about $1,800 right now. The dust shoe is $60 and the handheld encoder is $65. But with the first time customer discount, I was able to pick all of this up for just a little over $1,700, which I think is an excellent value. So even though I haven't done any cuts on the machine yet, in addition to the dust boot, which I don't think is optional, I think everybody needs a dust collection plan from the beginning for any CNC. And the handheld encoder, which I picked up when I purchased the machine, I did pick up an ER11 quarter-inch collet, knowing that most of the work I'm going to be doing is going to use quarter-inch bits. I do like the fact that the trim router does take the ER11. They're readily available and not that expensive. The other thing I did is I have an old Raspberry Pi 3 lying around that I put CNC JS on. I really do like the offline controller. The screen's a little small, but it's definitely functional. I love the fact that you can put an SD card in here and run all your programs directly from this. I think that's awesome. You can jog the machine, you can set zero, you can Z-probe, and get started all from here. I think that's great. I just don't think it's going to work with my workflow as well. I like to keep all my G-code in the cloud, and to be able to use a fanless device like an iPad where I can upload programs, see toolpaths, see coordinates, set zero, Z-probe, and everything else that you'd normally do from an iPad, just for me works better. So some of the other things, NymoLabs does provide some accessories for this. One that is intriguing for me on some projects that I may be looking at is a 4th axis rotary. So I may look at that in the future. They also offer a 10-watt laser, and they also offer a 1500-watt spindle. Also, in addition to this machine, they do have a smaller one, a 5040. Couple minor differences between this and the 5040 aside from the size is the 5040 has linear rods on the y-axis and they have one linear rail on the x-axis. Also, they don't have the dust protection on the y-axis, which for me, I really do like having that. Don't have to really think about that as much. But the big driving factor for me was the workspace, having that little bit of extra space. will help with my setups. So that's really what led me to this, although I really do like the fact that this has the dual linear rails on the x-axis as well. I'm sure if the 5040, the build quality is anything like this, it is probably a fantastic machine as well. So that's really about it right now. I'll probably post another video or two in the future after I've had some time with it. I am going to be adding a spoil board to this. I've had that worked up in Fusion right now, so I'll probably get started on that shortly. I may post a video on that as well, and maybe one on CNCJS and my workflow there too. So if you're interested in that, check back. Otherwise, I think this is a great machine. Like I said, I'll probably post another video with a little bit more insight after I've been using it for a little bit. But right now, no regrets, very happy. So thanks for sticking around.